So the Newfoundland and Labrador Living Lab project is about beneficial management practices, and there's focus on cover crops, the other being nitrogen use efficiency, and the third being biochar and compost. The Living Lab approach is focused on the end user, and the end user is the farmer. So the project, the research that's happening, has to work for the farmer at the end of the day. Part of the research as well is that socioeconomic piece that showcases that it has to work for the farmer. So doing that research has to apply for them directly on the farm and hopefully be a return for them. So through this research, we hope to find some innovations, and the approach that we're doing, the research is actually happening on the farmer's fields, not in a lab setting, and it engages the farmer throughout the process. And our core farmers, or that are part of the project where the research is happening, the goal is that they'll be able to translate that information, and the Federation of Agriculture is responsible for translating that information to other farmers that hopefully will help adopt these beneficial management practices that are being researched on.
As a farmer, I'm part of the Living Lab process on account of I feel it is super important that we as farmers and producers must mitigate the effect that we have on the environment. And working with academia and government and different branches of organizations is super important that we have that collaboration and the connection between industry and science.
I guess the drive to want to be involved is again moving forward. I'm third generation, fourth generation, and fifth generation is coming, and being able to keep growing crops so next generations can keep on with our farm and keep growing. It's very important, and that's one of the large reasons why I got in early, because if we can adapt this now, farm becomes more profitable, a little bit greener for the earth, and we can keep moving forward.
The biggest reason that we're part of the Living Lab process is we've really been trying to diversify the crops that we can grow on our farm here and try and find what brings the best value to our operation. Where we have so many animals, we're feeding close to 600 cows on our farm right now. We need to make sure that we're making the best use of every acre that we have on the farm. And we're really trying to cut down on the amount of commercial fertilizer that we have to purchase. So by doing some of this research, it allows us to figure out the best way to grow the crops that our cows need to eat on the land that we have available.
What's unique about the Newfoundland and Labrador Living Lab is the people that we get to bring together, and also how widespread this project is. So we're working from the West Coast to the East Coast to Labrador. So it's a very large spread out project. But the goal is that we can bring back information to our farmers that can be translated across those borders, either through Labrador or for Newfoundland, and also nationally. And hopefully we find some work that can be applied in other sectors as well. Another part of the collaborative approach is working regionally. So the Newfoundland Living Lab works closely with the Nova Scotia Living Lab, PEI Living Lab, and also with New Brunswick. So that Atlantic approach as well. It helps share what's working and what's not, so we can innovate through the process, and if we need to switch and pivot throughout, we're able to do that.
With the Living Labs process, we're growing the potato side of it for the Living Labs project. We are approached by the Newfoundland Labrador Federation of Agriculture to partnership in with them, and we're doing a 5-acre potato trial with the Living Labs. In the host site, we're growing potatoes. It's being grown under all different kinds of fertilizer rates and different kinds of fertilizer, trying to gauge what works best to try to cut back on our fertilizer costs, and in the long run, hopefully save us some money and be able to move forward using less fertilizers to grow our crops.
The biggest thing that we're trying to learn from the research that we're doing on the farm here is how to basically best optimize the chemical nitrogen that we have to apply on the farm. We've been doing a lot of different research with different soil amendments. We've been using some wood ash, and we've been using a lot of different limestones and stuff to figure out what makes the soil work the best on the operation that we have. We've actually cleared probably close to 700 or 800 acres of land since we bought the farm back in 2001. So we've taken a lot of virgin soils and we've had to convert them over and try and make them into soil that actually works good and grows all kinds of different crops.
What I'd like to learn from the Living Lab research is largely the connection from one season to the next as to how we can plan our crops, but that again will mitigate our effect of producing food and ensure that this land resource that we use is just borrowed from the future generation and suitable for them to continue producing food.
The Newfoundland Living Lab project is also about climate solutions and how do we reduce the effects of climate change. And farmers are going to be very, since they're the stewards of the land, that they're the first users of trying to grow that food for people, and how can they respond to those changes quicker and more efficiently, and how do we find those efficiencies to help with greenhouse gas emissions, help reduce that and sequester more carbon.
As an early adopter, what really has driven me to be involved is I was always taught and told, and a firm believer, that the land that I farm is not my land. It's only borrowed from a future generation. So, being part of this research and, identifying how we can improve the way we farm through beneficial practices, that's what is really important to me.